No, it's good. I think it's good.
Good morning. I want to welcome everyone to the Loyola Law School campus for the graduation of the inaugural Independent Gang Expert College, Forensic Gang Expert College. It's been quite a journey for us, and we are thrilled to have you here. So, on behalf of the Center for Juvenile Law and Policy, and really all of Loyola Law School, welcome graduates and family members. We are going to have a little ceremony to mark this occasion. Then we're going to hand out some certificates and then have a lunch. So I'm going to start us off. The STEP Act, which is the California Gang Statute, as you all know, was passed in 1988 in a climate of moral panic over gangs. 1988, Alexander, that's probably before you were born. And it was drafted in secret by the LA County District Attorney and the LA City Attorney without any hearings or policy research at all. And that act, for an entire generation, has demonized young people of color as violent gangbangers who have no regard for the rights of others. And the infamous California gang enhancement that the STEP Act brought us increased penalties for crimes committed by alleged gang members from 2 to 15 years. So many times people served 3 or 4 times what they should have served because of this thoughtless act. 92% of people incarcerated for gang enhancements right now in the state of California are people of color. 92% under the STEP Act. The racially discriminatory punitive gang enforcement that has happened in our community for the past 30 years has solved nothing and has only increased gang solidarity for at-risk youth. The Vera Institute, a think tank that is often hired and consulted by the judiciary, found that in the first 20 years of the STEP Act in Los Angeles County, we have spent $1 billion on punitive suppression with 0 results. Gang membership has only increased in this era of punitive enforcement. And yet, as we all know, law enforcement continues to use this false narrative to increase their budgets and escape scrutiny for police misconduct and violence. So that's the bad part. But we're here for the good part. And I think I speak for all of us when I say that it is such an honor to have you all here today on our campus to celebrate a new era. And we need to change the picture here about why teens in LA and beyond become gang involved. And we need to change the picture about how to deal with at-risk youth who are drawn to gang membership for a variety of reasons. But none of the reasons are what we hear every day in the courts of this state from the police gang experts. You all, gentlemen this time, next class, we're gonna have some female experts. Sierra's clapping in the background. You are part of that change, each one of you. And you now have, well, you've always had it, but in addition to all that life experience, you now have the education, training, and experience to qualify as independent forensic gang experts in court. And you can now help lawyers like me who struggle sometimes to develop a relationship and a rapport with my gang-involved clients. You can help me and legal teams do a better job of building a relationship of trust and mutual respect. And you can help lawyers build actual defenses to the step-back gang enhancements that have gone essentially undefended for 30 years. And, you know, that's really an important thing. I know, like in our class, the whole claimer thing was a big defense. I'm not familiar with that term, but I know what you meant, and I'm sure there are many other ways that you can help public defenders and defense counsel come up with defenses to these terrible gang enhancements that have really brutalized a lot of people. And you can contextualize gang membership to show it for what it is, often a mitigating factor in court, at sentencing, in juvenile transfer hearings, in analyzing pretrial motions for clients. There's just so many applications of your lived experience that can be used by lawyers in court who are open to a different narrative. And that's why it's just an honor to know you and to be here. And finally, I'll confess, the last point is the one that is really important to anyone who is representing young people, juveniles, young adults, and that is you can build the type of relationship with young people to help them transition out of gang involvement in order to avoid further violence or long-term draconian sentences that have resulted in mass incarceration. Never forget that you are here to correct all those sensational tropes about gangs that we have absorbed living in this culture. And you're here to correct the narrative and tell the truth about why young people become involved in gangs. I'm going to conclude, and then I'm going to turn it over to some of our speakers from the class, because that's who we really want to hear from. But I want to now give you some words of advice that I hope you're going to listen to me, because as you leave this program, which was meant to be nurturing and to let you have the trust to spread your wings, try things out, ask questions. Now you go into the more traditional and hostile environment of the courts. litigating gang cases. And I don't have to tell you what that culture is like. You know better than I do. The road ahead for the graduates will be full of legal obstacles. The criminal justice system has invoked a false narrative about gangs for over 30 years in order to justify the inexcusable racial disparities and as an excuse for their failed experiment of mass incarceration. So they're closed. They're closed to the expertise that you have. All the actors in the criminal justice system, all of them, the judge, the prosecutor, the probation officer, certainly the gang experts, even the public defenders, they're going to be defensive and resistant to the lived experience expertise that each of you brings to the table. It's going to be hard for them. They will try to make it hard for you to testify as a forensic gang expert because they are threatened by what you have to say. That is why you are so important, my friends. That's exactly why we need you in court doing this work. So, brace yourself and stand your ground and know that all of us at Loyola are here for you and that we will help you navigate these obstacles every step of the way. So the first one of you, although it's not limited to first, who gets a motion in limine to preclude you from testifying, I am making an offer in front of all my friends and colleagues that we are going to file the amicus brief in support of your testimony. And when they don't let you on the forensic gang expert panel, because you're not in the club, you're not a former member of law enforcement who went through the California Gang Investigators Association, and someone needs to seek some kind of injunctive relief, the center is here for you. We are here for you every step of the way. I cannot change the reluctance to let you go into the courtroom and tell your story, and more importantly, our clients' stories. But we can help you every step of the way, and know that you are not alone, that everyone at the center is rooting for you, and we will be there until this becomes a standard component of high-quality, client-centered representation of youth with gang involvement. So, we're going to hear from one of our graduates, Manny Thomas. Manny, I'm going to give you the floor.
I hate to be that guy, but I'm going to do it. Manny Thomas III. There were two before me. I am neither one of them. My guys, you look good. Everyone looks good, but specifically, I'm just always amazed on when I know what some of us have been through, and I know what we had to experience, and I know where we were at. And then I come to things like this, and I'm like, ooh, I don't see it on this. I just don't. If people only knew what we dealt with during lockdowns and years away from families and friends, and the personal growth that we had to go through, and look in the mirror and recognize not only who we have become, but in spite of that, the effect that we would have going forward. The energy that we bring into a room is powerful and palpable. I think that everywhere we go, we felt it, and others do as well. this experience will be no different. So I would also like to start off to say that, Sean, you stole a lot of my speech, but that's okay. I'll try to do my best to put a little flavor on it. No, I can't help but stand here and have a huge sense of gratitude. So it wouldn't make sense for me not to thank some people first. So I would like to thank Marissa Sack, excuse me. I said Maria, you got me. You said Maria in the car, so I said it. Chris Hawthorne, Sean Kennedy, Jeanette Lomelli, Helena Montes, Sierra White, Ellie, and any other staff and students who shared their wisdom and time to help us get to this point. And of course, my fellow gang experts. I read somewhere before all this had started that Loyola's motto is, by intention and philosophy, we invite men and women diverse in talents, interests, and cultural backgrounds to enrich our educational community and advance our mission. The encouragement of learning, the education of the whole person, the service of faith, and the promotion of justice. A clear example of that today is all of us sitting here. It is said that justice is blind. And I understand that the idea is so that judges and the judiciary process can base its decision on evidence without outside influence or predisposition, but there seems to be an inherent flaw. How can we give people what they deserve without actually seeing who they are and what they've experienced? It just doesn't make sense to me. If we don't see people for who they are, how do we know what they need? How do we give them what they need after they've been through what they've experienced? For much of my life, I felt that my voice didn't matter. So as a result, I relinquished it. What is even worse is I began to think that I had to become the character to fit other people's narrative of who I should be. That life was unfulfilling, and eventually I would end up in court and later in prison where they had a different narrative of who I was. It wasn't until much later that I realized that I needed to be the author of my own life, because stories are important. Our lives are a collection of stories that we create, experience, and share with one another. These stories will inform the narrative, and the narrative will become culture. Right now, the American justice system is draconian, but those of us in this room or outside today have the opportunity and the responsibility to change that. I'm gonna repeat that part because it's important. We have the opportunity, and more importantly, we have the responsibility to change that. So as we work with these fine lawyers and their clients and the courts, we should recognize that we have an opportunity to tell a story in a way that allows people to be seen in their truest form. We as a collective can open the eyes of justice and get her to see that people have been through and caused trauma, but is not the full extent of who they are. We can change this culture of harsh and severe punishment by eradicating this idea of objectivity and that deals with social issues by subjecting people to further harm and isolation and more trauma. We are more than gang experts, lawyers and students. We are truth tellers. We create the narrative needed to change the culture in which we are in today. I don't say any of that lightly. Human beings think in stories, right? Which is why language is important. Those stories will create a narrative, and that narrative dictates culture. We have the power to change that through our stories and making sure that we tell responsible and the truest form of the story of the people that we work with. I love you all, and I'm so thankful to be here, and I cannot wait to see what we create. Thank you. So I had the experience during all this when we were doing our mock hearing with Ellie to work with Danny. Danny is much like myself. He just has that I'm here and I'm supposed to be here. There's a certain sense of power that comes with it. Like, no, I'm supposed to be here and we're supposed to be doing that. And for those of us who have an opportunity to see our mock hearing, you felt it. So without further ado, Danny Contreras.
What's up, everybody? Hey. So I would say just let's take a look around right now at everybody. This is a powerful group of individuals. I mean, would you ever have thought that we'd be here at this law school? From the hole, the penitentiary, the SHU, different places that we've been, all the riots and drama and all that stuff. I never in my life thought we would be here, right? but I think this is an amazing opportunity. Thank you, all of you, for helping us get to this point and continuing to be able to help us step our game up. Like I was telling everybody earlier, this is like, I've only worn a suit 3 times in my life. It might have been 4, maybe when I was a baby, they might have dressed me up once, right? It was to get sentenced to prison, to get married, and then today, right? So this I feel like a frog right now, but I'm gonna get used to this. I'm starting checking everybody's suit game out and picking up pointers. But I think I could get used to this. So I remember being 17 years old in juvenile hall, facing first-degree murder, gang enhancements, and a ton of other charges. And I remember feeling hopeless, like I didn't have no voice. I remember feeling the gang task force coming to my fitness hearings and saying all these things that they thought I did or I was a part of, or stuff that didn't even have nothing to do with me. And I felt like, man, this system is built against me. Like, what do I do for hope? This is it. I remember my attorney telling me, Gray Davis said, you're gonna go home in a pine box. You get this life sentence, you're gonna go home in a pine box. And I felt cornered, where there was nowhere else for me to go. And that's what we're here for right there, right? Manny was talking about our voice. We got our voice back, right? We've been had it back. We just didn't know how to walk in it, and now we can walk in this voice, you know? We can be there for that young man or that young woman and share with them what we have, and we can connect with them like nobody else can connect. I remember my dad and my grandfather sold their house. My dad sold his house to give me an attorney. At 17 years old, I didn't even trust my attorney even though they paid for him. I was like, how can I tell this guy my ugliness or my mess, or trust that he's gonna have my best interests at heart, you know? So that's another piece, right? Us being able to connect with people to understand where they're at because of how we grew up, whatever trauma, hurt, and pain, and the stuff that we were dishing out because at some point we were victims ourselves, you know? We can make that connection. And we know what it's like to be in those shoes, you know? And I think that's gonna show forth when we go out there and start talking with these people and helping them out. But I remember not just feeling cornered, right? Cornering to the point where, like, I either go this all the way out, ride or die, get this life sentence, or I take whatever plea without a life sentence, and hopefully I make it out one day, you know? And that's not a good thing, right? And then you got all those charges stacked on top of you that some of them are not true. So I think our expertise is going to be able to step in there and do those things, right? And changing the narrative. What's a OG stand for? You guys can say it. Go ahead.
Original gangster.
Original gangster, right? All right. So now we can flip that, right? We're going to change the narrative. We're going to be opportunity giver, right? OG. And that opportunity giver now is opportunity that we can give somebody hope, right? Opportunity that we can show them there's a different way of life than the streets or coming out here and violence and death, right? Opportunity that we can help knock off some of that stuff that's not true about them, right? And bring some real justice to the justice system, right? Because I know we all done felt some stuff that came against us that was not true, and we just bit it, took it, and went on with it, right? But now we're able to fight. So I thank you. All of you again, I thank you. I'm so excited and glad to be here with you guys today. Like I said, this is my really first time as an adult with a suit. But we opportunity givers now, you know? We flip the script, we change the narrative, and we're gonna change this whole system, you know? We're gonna tear it down and do the right thing, right? Thank you.